And this is the concluding part of your Business Incorporated. Nigeria Stanbic IBTC has reported first quarter 2018 earnings that analysts at FBN Quest says it beats their forecast by 34%. The lender at the weekend posted a 43% pre-tax profit, while its revenue was a healthy 20%, offsetting a 47% jump in its operating expenses during the period. Stanbic's new profit was, however, lifted by 1.5 billion naira right back against a 3.3 billion naira provisions charge made a year earlier. On the balance sheet, the commercial bank posted a 9% decline in its loan book, a trend seen in Zenith Bank at 16% and 7% in GT Bank during the first 3 months of 2018. FBN Quest analyst says consensus estimates for Stanbic IBTC full year 2018 is expected to be adjusted upwards based on its first quarter numbers. And a US-based insurance solutions provider for international organizations by the name Clemens Worldwide has released its Global Risk Index for 2018. The new index survey identified professional and management liability, as well as natural disasters, as the two main risks, topping the loss category by 6 and 11 position increase. Channel's business producer Temple Ashaju sat down with Clemens Patricia Loria for a brief chat on what the new risk index is all about.
It's based on a survey of not only our clients, but other companies who have worked abroad in a significant amount of their resources and their people. So that's kind of really where we focus our research and thought leadership. This latest risk index did have some sharp differences from others. So one of the main things we follow is kind of the top 5. So the top 5 losses, top 5 concerns, and the top 5 risks for which organizations feel most unprepared. In the top 5 loss, professional and management liability in natural disasters jumped from much lower points to where they are now in the risk index in the top 5. So that was one of the major findings. Essentially what they did was pushed out political violence and terrorism from the top 5 losses, although political violence and terrorism continue to be in the top 5 concerns. What we surmise from that is that organizations are actually learning how to better manage those risks, so the risks aren't turned into losses, whether that be better security measures that they're using at their organization, training their people during events of like riots or civil commotion or strikes not to go outside. Those are all kind of the risk management protections you can put in place so that you don't have losses from those types of items. Additionally, you can get insurance for those, which we've seen kind of going up in terms of companies adopting that type of insurance.
So are there really Nigerian specifics in this report?
So Africa, the results for Africa, didn't differ hugely than, other markets. There were some things that made the top 5 for Africa, such as business interruption loss was a top 5. And that's actually one of the losses that we have a section in the report that's kind of a looking forward from our chief underwriter, our SVP. When we ask her, what do you think people are underestimating? She thinks people underestimate business interruption loss. And so it's interesting that for Africa, it was one of your top 5 losses. And a business interruption loss can really be anything that keeps your organization from operating during a period of time, which will usually result in either lost revenue if you're a commercial organization, or kind of lost donations if you're an NGO. And so, and it could be a result of denial of access because of political violence. It could be a natural disaster keeps you from opening. It could be political legislation closes down a type of business. But, while it's not trending in the risk index, for Africa it was trending, and our head of underwriting says it should be trending because that's where she's seeing a lot of interesting claims.
So what are some of the mitigants to the losses that you foresee as presented in your reports?
It's really about education. So employees need to be educated about risks for political violence. I think there was a time 5-10 years ago where companies didn't want to talk to their expats who were moving abroad about all these risks they faced because they thought it might scare them off, make them too concerned. But what they realized was that they weren't really doing their duty of care for those employees because those employees were going into a situation unprepared, and then they were making mistakes that affected their own safety, but also the safety of assets, like leaving, vehicles and fleets in unsafe areas, not locking up certain property. So there's a lot of things that can be done to protect, protect your assets. And when we give insurance quotes, we ask those questions. What kind of security do you have, around an installation that would affect your property? Do you have alarms? Do you have dogs? Do you have gated community? What does your security staff look like? When a company has all those plans in place, they could even get better insurance rates because it's demonstrated that they're less likely to have an event.
That's Patricia Lauria of Clemens Worldwide talking about how you need to understand the global risks that we face. That includes disasters and violence in around us. And let's wrap up today's edition of Business Incorporated with the story about an auto rickshaw taxi operator in Somalia, the Horn of Africa, trying to make ends meet after a failed attempt to secure opportunities in Europe to escape the economic instability of his country. Today, Ahmed Abukar says the taxi business has offered him work and a reason to stay back at home.
Locally known as bajajas, auto rickshaws in Somalia have become a cheap and popular way to get around the bustle of Moghadisu and other major cities as the country works to rebuild after decades of instability. Ahmed Abukar tried to go to Europe, considering the dangerous journey taken by millions of migrants across the world in search of greener pastures.
I wanted to go to Europe and become an immigrant after seeing beautiful photos from my friends already there. But when I looked at the journey and how dangerous it was, and the money I had saved was not enough, I said no. Instead, I bought a bajaja, that's a rickshaw, and started a new life for my family.
A few years ago, there were hardly any auto rickshaws in Somalia, but today they are everywhere, weaving between personal cars and other minivan public transport vehicles and signaling a kind of revival. Somalia has been in turmoil since 1991, hit by conflict at the hands of clan militias. It has also been hit by an insurgency, famine, and maritime piracy. Insecurity is one of Abukar's biggest challenges.
The main obstacles I face are the explosions and roadblocks in the streets of Mogadishu. Some of my friends lost their lives and their bajajas, their rickshaws, were destroyed. But what we have here is better than putting yourself at risk trying to get to Europe. We hope that we can find a better life in our home country.
Abukar said he makes about $25 to $30 a day, enough to care for his 6 children, as well as take his younger ones to school, because his mother cannot get work.
Working in Mogadishu is very difficult because you meet good people and sometimes you meet bad people who can treat you very badly. But I have accepted this life.
While the bajajas are seen as a sign of an economy that is slowly on the mend, there is little spent on improving public health, education, or infrastructure in the bullet-scarred city, and unemployment remains rife.
And those are red-colored rickshaws in Somalia. They are yellow colors in Nigeria. In case you are not yet here, take time to visit Lagos, and you'll see them all over our roads as well. Let's take a break. Business Incorporated returns tomorrow at the same time here on Channels Television. Do have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you then.